Okay. I would like to call this meeting of Monday, July 22nd, 2024 to order and recognize that on this very special day for the Comox Nation, we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox Nation, who, after 30 years of deliberations and negotiations, has initialed a treaty this morning and shared that ceremony with the mayors of the valley and a whole bunch of other dignitaries. And it was wonderful to see that progress, and we congratulate them wholeheartedly and support them on the next steps, which is the vote of the nation on the treaty. And looking forward to, as always, working with them to bring more prosperity and health to the valley as a whole. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor? That's unanimous. And there are minutes to approve from
Minutes.
July 8th,
Second.
and that's unanimous as well. No delegations, no correspondence. We're on to reports. Local Government Climate Action Program report. Come on up, Eric. Oh, the whole gang's coming. Excellent. Takes a village to write a climate action report. For provincial funders, because this is what they ask us to do.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this report is to seek Council direction for the public posting of required documents for eligibility for funding under the Local Government Climate Action Program. In the spring of 2022, the BC Ministry of Environment and Climate Change announced the LG CAP, replacing the previous Climate Action Revenue Incentive Program. The LG CAP aims to catalyze the efficient flow of financial resources, data, and knowledge between modern treaty nations, local governments, and the provincial government to allow for cost-effective, impactful, locally implemented climate action. Amounts of funds allocated are based on population, and the village has received $72,082 in 2022 and 2023. The program was confirmed for an additional 3 years earlier this year, with an amount of $211,205 received in March 2024, paid up front for 2024, 2025, and 2026. Those funds are to be utilized before March 31st, 2028. As part of this program, mandatory reporting is required each year, and the local government is to complete the online LGCAP survey by July 31st, have a chief financial officer or equivalent sign the attestation form, complete an annual corporate greenhouse gas inventory by July 31st, and publicly post the LGCAP survey and attestation form by September 30th of each year. The information gathered through this survey is shared in the LGCAP summary report. This report provides insights into the ongoing leadership, achievements, and experiences of BC communities, including ourselves, across a range of areas such as land use planning, climate adaptation, buildings, transportation, waste, water, and energy. To date, a total of $284,621 of LGCAP funds have been received and committed towards the following projects: Community and Corporate Climate Action Plan, BC Energy Step Code adoption, electric truck purchase, an electric van purchase, Home Energy Navigator Program, and the First Street optional contract for sidewalk and active transportation. The estimated balance available at the end of 2024 is $78,294, inclusive of interest earned to date. Council will have a chance to allocate the remaining funding during the 2025 budget discussions. Participation in the LGCAP has supported the development of the village's climate action plan, which in turn helps provide timelines and priorities for the village to implement actions that help to adapt the potential impacts of climate change on the village and on community health and well-being. The survey is attached, and with this, it is staff's recommendation that Council direct staff to post the survey as well as the signed attestation form to confirm all funds were or will be used towards climate action. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody have questions?
No questions, just a comment.
Sure, you go first, and then I have a question.
Yeah, thanks for this. And thank you guys for administering all of this program. I'm really happy about the things we've spent the money on so far. And I'm looking forward to October when we can figure out what other good things we can do with the remaining
We can
almost 80 grand.
spend more money.
Thank you guys.
So that's my question. So there's 78,000 left on the balance up to 2024, and then we have 211 plus for 2025 to 28. Is that right?
Where have we spent all that on?
No, actually,
Yeah. Don't tell me that, Annie.
the 78,000 is what's left, including what we received earlier this year.
Yeah.
That's all of it. And we don't get more for another 3 years.
That's correct. Next would be in 2026, I assume, unless something changes to the program.
Damn. Okay. Sorry, that was my outside voice. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Then there's a recommendation there.
I'll move the council direct staff to post on the village website the local government climate action program, completed and signed attestation form to confirm all funds were or will be used towards climate action, and complete a PDF version of the required program survey.
Second.
All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. And next we're on to
Myself again.
you again. Liquor primary new outdoor patio for the Legion.
Yeah, so thank you. The purpose of this report is to receive the liquor primary new outdoor patio application at 2770 Dunsmuir Avenue, which is the Royal Canadian Legion, Cumberland Branch number 28, and provide a resolution to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. Under the Liquor Control and Licensing Act, a local government may provide comment on certain liquor license applications. As the village has not opted out of providing comment, Council must provide a resolution to the LCRB that includes comments and recommendations with consideration to the impact of noise on nearby residents, the impact on the community if the application is approved, the view of residents, and a recommendation as to whether the application should be approved and the reasons on which that is based. So as I mentioned, an application for a change to the license area for the establishment at the Legion has been referred to the Village of Cumberland. The requested change is to amend the Legion's existing permanent liquor license, which currently includes the inside area and back patio, to also include the area in front of the building, which fronts Dunsmuir Avenue. Currently, the Legion has a temporary expanded service area, TESA, for the paved patio in the front area that expires on December 31st, 2024. Under the new proposal, this paved patio and the lawn space inside the chain fencing would become part of the establishment's permanent liquor license. The application does not propose any structural changes to the property nor its layout. The proposed area would be serviced by the interior service bar and have a capacity of up to 50 people. They are not proposing any changes in the hours of their current liquor license. So as per direction from the LCRB, the following factors must be considered by the village when providing resolution and comment on the application. The location of the establishment. So the Legion is located within the village core commercial mixed use, and as such, a licensed premise is a permitted use. The Legion has operated a long-standing establishment at this location and is abutted by a convenience store service station to the west and a TELUS communications building to the east. Other adjacent properties include mixed-use commercial and residential. The person capacity and hours of liquor service of the establishment. The proposed area would have a capacity of up to 50 people. The hours of sale would remain as outlined in the Legion's current liquor license. It is not expected that the extension of the permanent liquor license to include the front patio and lawn space would lead to any notable increase in occupants on site, as the proposed area is serviced by the interior service bar, which is still subject to its existing indoor capacity. The primary goal of the applicant is not to increase the number of patrons, but rather provide Legion members and their guests with a variety of seating and gathering places, including outdoors on a hot day. Furthermore, as the application does not propose any structural changes to the property nor its layout, the front area, which is currently uncovered and exposed, would likely to be used in a seasonal or weather-dependent nature. The impact of noise on nearby residents. The noise bylaw addresses noise inside a commercial venue, but does not speak directly to outside commercial venues such as patios. It is possible that outdoor use could result in increased noise. However, any noise complaints involving the Legion would be dealt with under general prohibitions in the bylaw. The Legion's current permanent liquor license already does include an outdoor patio, which is at the rear of the property, which is also the side closest to residential use. And furthermore, since the beginning of the temporary program implemented in May 2020, the village has not received any notable noise concerns due to the use of the front area. The impact of community if the application is approved. So as I mentioned, in June 2021, the province extended existing temporary authorizations to provide time for local authorities to update their patio policies or for licensees to apply to make these areas permanent, recognizing the role that outdoor patios play in contributing to more vibrant neighborhoods and communities. Staff believes that approving this application would support the Legion in creating a welcoming and comfortable environment for its members, and in turn help the Legion in their commitment to supporting the broader community as a nonprofit organization. The view of residents and a description of the method used. So staff mailed a total of 37 notices to properties within 75 meters of the subject property on June 2026, and as of this meeting, we have received no comments. And then this is somewhat of a summarization of those above things. The local government recommendations and the reasons on which they are based. The Legion has operated a long-standing establishment at this location and is committed to supporting the broader community as a local nonprofit. It is staff's recommendation that the LCRB considers approving the application for the following reasons. The Legion's current permanent liquor license already includes an outdoor patio at the rear of the property, which is the side closest to residential use. However, consistent with the conditions included in the approval for the rear patio, the village wishes that emissions of amplified entertainment from within the building be minimized to the greatest extent possible, and that live entertainment be confined to the interior of the building. 2, since the beginning of the TESA program, the village is not aware of any notable noise concerns due to the use of the front area. 3, in consideration of the types of events held at the Legion, it is not expected that the extension of the permanent liquor license to include the front area would lead to any notable increase in occupants on site. The primary goal of the applicant is not to increase the number of patrons, but rather provide members and their guests a variety of seating options. And 4, the property service area has sufficient bounding for the monitoring and control of patrons and is visually and physically defined by the archway and chain fencing. And lastly, like I said, outdoor patios contribute to more vibrant neighborhoods and communities. And at the time of this report and at the time of this presentation, no comments from the public have been received in opposition of this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, there's an enormous
Comment?
recommendation there. Do we have
Yeah,
to
my
read the
question
intent?
was, we have to read everything on that.
Yeah, the resolution requires each thing to be commented on, so that's what goes to the
Okay,
LCRB.
I'll go for it. Just before I do, I think it's important to support the Legion. They do really good work here in the community, much more than I'd realized in terms of what they collect in. They're not for profit, and they donate a huge amount to our little organizations that we have in this village. So anything we can do to make it happier for them. I move that council recommends to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch that regarding the liquor primary new outdoor patio application at 2770 Dunsmuir Avenue, Royal Canadian Legion, Cumberland Branch number 28, the following be considered based upon the information provided. A, the impact of noise on nearby residents. Do I have to say everything in that, or B, like everything? Okay. It's possible that the use of the front patio could reduce.
Say the bolded part. I mean,
Okay, can we just say the bold parts, or, okay. As recommended in the text below. B, the impact on the community if the application is approved based upon the text below. C, the views of the residents and the description of the method used to gather views based upon the method below. And D, the local government recommendations and the reasons on which they are based. Keep going, or is that good? Yeah, I think that's good.
And
You read all that already, so we've considered that.
Second, and all in favor?
happily, yes.
And that's carried unanimously. Okay. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
I think you're off the
Yeah.
hook for a bit.
Awesome report.
CMHC Housing Accelerator Fund application.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and
Let's
Council.
roll the dice again.
Yeah, that's right. So the purpose of this report is to seek council's support to initiate work on an application to the CMHC Housing Accelerator Fund second intake. We only found out a couple of weeks ago that this was open at all. So, and because of the summer break, this is our last council meeting until September, just a week before the application is due. This is like kind of an early report to get council's support for staff to work on preparing an application, but then we'd bring back some more details at your September meeting. So the September 9th council meeting would be the only opportunity for council to review and endorse the details of the application before it's submitted. In the 2023 intake, the first one, the village applied for $5.793 million with a housing action plan of 5 actions, but we didn't receive any funding. The new application would be based on the initial application, but updated to reflect new program criteria, new best practices provided by CMHC in the current village work program. I wouldn't anticipate any major changes, but some things would need to be updated. So a little bit of background in the report on the program itself. And interesting, the funding in the second round is only available to those who applied during the first round. So it's a kind of like by invite only. We can't just submit this exact same application because CMHC has published a list of best practices based on the successful applications in the first round. So they've kind of narrowed down their advice on what they recommend as projects that are likely to receive funding. I actually haven't delved into all the details yet. There's a webinar tomorrow. I'll learn more then, but those are the broad strokes. So for the application submission, we have to prepare an action plan. For communities of our size, that has to include 5 actions, and they each have growth supply targets. So each action is anticipated to increase the housing supply so many units above like the trajectory we're currently on under status quo. And then we're funded based on those additional housing units. And the report lists the 5 actions in our housing action plan that we submitted last round. It's the Affordable Housing Reserve Fund and Policy. We now have the reserve fund. So I think this one is going to need some tweaks, but we can still have an action around the reserve fund. And I understand we can actually use some of this funding to put into the reserve fund, like a seed funding. Wow. That is what we applied for last time, and we'll confirm that's still accurate for this time around.
Awesome.
The second one is updating policies and regulations to support affordable housing development. There's a project there. There's more details to be fleshed out. Continued modernization of the development process, that's still valid. Zoning bylaw amendments to align with community housing priorities, and encouraging and incentivizing secondary suites and ADUs. And for the last 2, I think there are some synergies with the new housing requirements in BC. So this is a Canada-wide program. So in some ways, so there's some things that we have to do anyway, being in BC with the new housing legislation that might also be eligible as a project under the Housing Accelerator Fund. So we'll look into that. We plan to get consulting support, as we did for our first grant application, to refresh this one, and we can plan to fund that out of the official community plan review budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, council, comments?
Just let me think about how to. So this money is meant to boost us beyond. Would this be beyond what we've sort of received in our housing needs report and what the numbers we're basing our OCP review on? is this accelerating those numbers, or is this going to be kind of we're anticipating this acceleration already, and this is just going to help us smooth it out and fund it? Or I'm a little confused if, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to figure out if we're like, this is like giddy up, let's go and tear the doors off expansion, or if this is kind of just going to smooth out what we're already halfway anticipating happening.
That was partly my question too. So our growth rate is, I think, of 18%-ish, or it was in the recent past. So are we now supposed to, using this to push that up to 28% growth rate? And is that even something our village could like our planning department could handle? Like,
Yeah, no,
aren't you
these are-
doing kind of
these are
enough already?
Great questions, and so the Housing Accelerator Fund, they're wanting to see units like over the next 4 years of the like over the life of the program. So it really is accelerating what we're already anticipating. Like, we're looking at the 20-year housing needs for our OCP, and so this is just about accelerating what we're expecting anyway. And we did have some numbers, and we'll have some numbers for you again if you do want us to continue working on this and we come back to you. But okay, I didn't include these in the report. So going off memory, I think it was something like 74 new units expected under status quo in our previous round, and we were going to commit to doing like 120 or something. And those numbers aren't quite right, but I think that's the general scale that we're talking about like a certain percentage more housing in that 4 years than we would have done otherwise. And we get to decide how much more we say we'll do. And so we're not talking about like quadrupling, it's just like a percentage increase in the number of housing units we say, with the changes that we make, will be built in that time period.
Okay. So then does anyone else have questions before I go ahead?
I guess the follow-up to that then is what happens if we take the money but don't end up delivering those extra units?
So the funding is given in 4 different steps, like four times over the 4 years, once a year.
Okay.
And CMHC is looking for interim reporting as we go. So it's possible if we don't deliver, we don't get all the money. They might just withhold the last payments. What we also think is possible is there might be some extensions or some other flexibility.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
And I would say also, and it might not be the same as the last grant application, but I remembered something about capacity building, those funds being able to be used for capacity building to accelerate, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They can fund staff positions, consulting positions, also funding surfacing and infrastructure.
Well,
Okay, that was my question. So we could use it to, say, pave a street near a parcel of land that we're trying to get developed, which would include affordable housing, and then that could be our contribution to the affordable housing or something like that. We could use it in those kind of strategic ways to get.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I think it is quite open as to what we end up using the funding for, because that funding is much more money than it will take to implement the program. So
Yeah.
that's the idea. Then we get so much more to make it possible to add this extra housing in that time frame.
Okay. Okay, great. If there's no more questions, there's a recommendation there.
Move the council direct staff to draft an application for the second intake to the CMHC Housing Accelerator Fund, generally based on the 2023 grant application and updated to align with current grant requirements and the village work program.
Second.
And all in favor? That is also unanimous. Thank you so much, Courtney, and thank you for taking on doing this grant application on short notice. Okay, rescue pump, emergency vehicle replacement. Come on up, Mike. Oh, and Mike
Good
and
evening,
Annie.
Mayor and Council.
hello.
So in our last budget, we were asking to replace Rescue 4 with a bigger, little larger unit, and with more capacity, and so now we're asking for the funds to make that happen, which is probably going to be, we won't see it for till 2026 probably, or late 2025. But we'd like to get started on it and get it rolling. So yeah, we're asking for the funds to make that happen.
Okay, questions, council?
I guess I'll try and start. It's not exactly clear in here. It's a GMC 3500. What other kinds of equipment is going to be on this truck?
So the unit we have now is a 1-ton, Rescue 4 is a 1-ton truck. This is going to be a 3.5-ton truck, so we can add fire suppression on it for wildfire suppression. A lot of these units are being built now for the forest wildfire, and being built for just about every community's building them now, because they go into the bush really quick, and they're easy to, they're not so long, you know, they're 20 feet long, or I think 22 feet long it is. And it's also type 5 unit. So these are the units, you know, when we get the phone call from the interior, do you have a type 5 unit you could send us? You know, do you have an engine you can send us, or do you have a tanker you can send us? This unit would fit that criteria, that we could send it to wildfire, to support wildfire. And they use them for inside towns to, when sparks and embers start coming into town, they use these trucks to cruise all the streets and look for small spot fires and stuff like that. So on this truck, it'll be doing our FR calls, which, you know, is like 65% of our calls. It'll have that capability. It'll have rescue capability for bike rescues and all our tools to retrieve people off trails and hills or whatever. And also it can support car accidents, MVIs, and also fire suppression. It has 200-gallon tank and pump with, and it's a portable tank and pump, so we can remove it or put it on the vehicle, or we can take it off. And the Rescue 4 there doesn't have that capability. And the other problem with the Rescue 4 is the weight. We have it overweighted now. It's like right at its maximum. So this will give us plenty of more tools. We keep adding tools, and so we need the suspension. Also, the new firemen, the younger firemen, our truck is so old, they always ask me, like, what's that handle on the door for? Well, that's to take the window down, boys, you know. No automatic, no air conditioning or anything like that in this unit. We bought this unit years ago off Sue Finneron. She gave us a good deal on it, and the firemen built most of it. And but it's been a very good unit. It doesn't have very many miles on it, but it's done more calls than any unit we have. And so will this new unit.
Councilor Berkey?
I probably know the answer to this already, but there's not a lot of high hopes for resale of the existing unit.
Oh, you'll sell that in a heartbeat.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So we could recoup some of the costs for.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's.
We tend not to get a lot of money for these units.
That's what I was thinking.
And it
Yeah.
kind of bugs me, because like we got rid of engine 3 for like $30,000, where it was a steal for anybody that bought that engine. But we just don't have the housing for it. But you'll sell this and no problem.
And the new one is going to significantly expand the area you're able to protect too. Then I suppose in the back trails.
Yeah, well, it'll give us more.
At least fire suppression.
Yeah,
ability,
fire suppression stuff. So if we get a small fire, we can get it in there, and like I say, we have foam capacity on it too. So it takes 200 gallons and turns it into like 400 or 500 gallons of water, or water foam, and hopefully we don't have to use it for that. But you know, with all our trails and roads and back roads, it's just another tool we have to help us out.
No, it sounds like a good use.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, I had one more question. This one's probably more for Annie. If I'm understanding this correctly, we have already budgeted for this unit, and this is actually under what we budgeted. We're just bringing it forward by a year.
This is correct. Actually, we had in the budget the 40,000 included in 2024 for deposit, and then 360,000, I believe, included in the proposed 2025 budget for a total of $400,000. So now we're just asking council to commit the $380,000 this year, but it would be expensed. Well, only the deposit would be paid this year, and then the remainder would be paid at delivery end of 2025.
Okay, so it's not really changing our budget significantly.
Well, I think it's under budget, but there's other items that will have to be purchased once we own the apparatus, and perhaps Mike could.
I think we have to purchase the vehicle when they get it before they start building it. So whenever they get that vehicle, the Ford 3.5 ton vehicle, I think we have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm guessing $100 and something thousand for that vehicle, and then they start building the body for it, and then they pay the rest off. That's the way it works for fire engines and everything anyway, so I'm assuming, I think that's how it works.
And is there more equipment you need to buy?
There's some equipment that we're gonna add to that for fire suppression and road rescue, which is about another $25,000 or $30,000.
Will you be coming back to ask us for that, or do you already have that?
We're hoping we can squeeze that in on the 400.
That'd be really nice.
Okay.
Well, we'll work at it. That's right.
Okay, so this is more just a tweaking of our long-term
Timing.
budget than a new budget item.
Yeah, that's good.
When I
Sorry.
was at the Chiefs Convention, they had 4 of these vehicles there already built, and they're building them so fast, and they have so many orders that's why it's going to take like a year and a half to 2 years to even get it. So it's not coming tomorrow or whatever, but it'll eventually get here. So we'd like to get it going now because the order 2 years from now, it's another 2 years and probably another 25% cost.
Yeah. Michelle, did you
Can
have
I just
something?
add for Councillor Terrian this is really about the procurement. They've gone through the competitive bidding process, and so we're just asking for you to award the contract and also commit the funds that you have in the budget, but you won't need to actually increase a budget for 2024 because it's already in 2025.
Cool.
Just a commitment.
That's what we like to hear. Okay. Who wants to move that?
Sure. I'll recommend that council approve the commitment of up to $380,300 for the purchase of the rescue pump emergency vehicle, with $120,000 to be funded through the Growing Community Fund, $260,300 to be funded through short-term borrowing from the MFA through the Equipment Financing Program, and that council approve the award of the purchase of the rescue pump emergency vehicle to Rocky Mountain Phoenix, and that council authorize the CAO to execute the contract between the Village of Cumberland and Rocky Mountain Phoenix for the purchase of the rescue pump emergency vehicle for an amount of $380,268.37, inclusive of PST.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? That's also unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you, Council.
Go order a truck. Okay, now we're on to Coal Creek Historic Park, Wellington Colliery Trail Perseverance Creek Bridge Project Partnership Agreement. Hello, Kevin.
Good evening. It's a bit of a mouthful because this project is proposed in kind of a funny location, and I say funny just
How many
in terms of
ownerships
all
do we
the
have?
the land ownership in this area is a little bit bizarre. So it's technically in Coal Creek Historic Park, but it really functionally it seems a lot more. I guess it makes a lot more sense to consider this as part of the conservation lands at Comox Lake and Lower Perseverance Creek. So what's proposed is building a bridge on the Wellington Colliery Trail at that location over the creek. And the proposal would be for the Cumberland Community Forest Society to take the lead. They've already been taking the lead on management and overall leadership, I guess, on that whole area, including an access management project they started last year. And earlier this year, they turned their attention to this bridge and have done significant work in planning and design to date. And by entering into this agreement with the village, we would essentially be granting them authority to construct something on our land, which we would ultimately own. And so the agreement spells out all the details of roles and responsibilities and funding and managing risk and that kind of thing. A few other details. We're proposing to partially fund a village contribution through development cost charges, as well as another asset reserve. but that would just be about $20,000 contribution to an approximately $100,000 project. So the village would end up with a fairly significant piece of park infrastructure. And the construction timeline is approximately second half of August at this point is what's being targeted, should council, support the project this evening. So,
Questions?
Can I make a couple comments?
Sure.
I think this is an incredible initiative. It might improve dirt bike access. Just kidding, man. No, I just, from an accessibility standpoint, that's, that really is the bottleneck for people getting through that area with physical challenges and that. It was there a long time ago, and it was, wasn't up to snuff what this is going to be, but I just think it'll help a lot of folks out enjoy an area on foot or through accessibility devices. Another thing, it's going to keep people from running through that stream, which the stream keepers, I imagine, would really appreciate in their efforts to maintain that habitat. So I think it's an asset this city, or this town, is going to really, village, is going to really appreciate and enjoy for generations to come. It's a nice legacy project. So thank you for bringing this forth.
I would imagine there would be like stanchions to block said ATVers and stuff, or something like
Too
that.
narrow, I think.
yeah, that's being considered in design. Yeah. It would not be able to, you cannot create access for cyclists while blocking dirt bikes. The reality is they get in multiple different ways. So that's not possible. The long-term concept is to increase foot and non-motorized traffic, and through behavioral change, disincentivize the use of that area by the motorized users.
So the bridge will withstand a motorized vehicle, though? Like, they're not gonna collapse, or it's not gonna collapse?
Not under the load of, the biggest load would be snow load. That will be what
Okay.
the engineering will be designed for. It will not be wide enough for like a passenger vehicle or truck. Emergency access is maintained through an access agreement with the adjacent landowner to take the logging roads out to the site.
Yeah.
But the pedestrian bridge would be able to carry the load of a dirt bike.
Awesome.
Just one last question about erosion in that area. I suppose this will definitely take into account on the design, but it does move around quite a bit in that area. Is that, I haven't seen the design for it yet, but
The
Stream bed.
yeah, just in the creek bed and the
Yeah,
banks
so
there.
the Community Forest Society has engaged a registered professional biologist to work on restoration planning as part of this, including, I think they're going to regrade some of the slopes and some planting, as well as some of those adjacent kind of maze of trails that have been created. So that's all part of the project.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to weigh in and thank the Cumberland Community Forest Society for bringing this forward and taking this on and fundraising to build this bridge. And I think I'm more than happy to put in our share for this asset.
Maybe we need to talk to them about the path to the lake.
Yeah, I think this has been a long time coming, and I appreciate CCFS stepping up as they do. And I think this will go a long way to mitigating the damage that's happening to the creek out there and the multitude of crossings. So much appreciation for the partnership, and thanks for bringing it forward, Kevin. And there's a recommendation there.
I move that council enter into a project partnership agreement with the Cumberland Community Forest Society for the construction of a pedestrian bridge over Perseverance Creek on the Wellington Colliery Trail in Coal Creek Historic Park, and authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer to execute the agreement, and the council approve an expenditure of $20,000 to the Cumberland Community Forest Society, conditional on the completion of the construction and installation of the bridge per terms of the project partnership agreement, with $9,900 funded from the Parks Development Cost Charges Reserve and $10,100 funded from the General asset renewal reserve, and that council direct staff to bring forward an amendment to the adopted 2024-2028 financial plan bylaw to reflect this expenditure.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's unanimous as well.
Thanks,
Okay.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
2024-2034 Canada Community Building Fund Agreement. Bringing home the money, Annie. Thank you.
So the purpose of this report is to present the terms of the renewed Canada Community Building Funds Program and seek council authorization for the mayor and CAO to execute the agreement. The program provides dedicated and predictable funds to local governments across BC for investments in local infrastructure and capacity building priorities. The previous 10-year program came to an end in March 2024, and the renewal of the program has been confirmed for another 10 years, ending in March 2034. The program has been expanded and now includes new eligible project categories such as resilience infrastructure and systems, firewalls and trucks, and planning initiatives supporting housing. Payment for the first year has been set to just under $133,000, and future payments are estimated at $261,500 per year. The balance of the Community Works Fund was just over $1.4 million at the end of 2023, and most of those funds are allocated to projects delayed from 2023 to 2024. An estimated balance of $244,000 will remain available at the end of 2024, inclusive of the new funds to be received this year. 2025 budget discussion will give an opportunity to council to allocate those funds. And the program also includes some requirements, such as the program reporting, the communication around how the funds are used towards eligible projects, and recipients must also demonstrate and reports on their continuous improvement of asset management. So now staff recommends council to authorize the CEO and mayor to execute this new agreement. Any questions?
Lucky for those communities who need a new fire hall.
That we paved the road for them. Now they're included in here. So similar question to the last, I'm asking a similar question. So the funds that are left include the new money that we've had, or we've not allocated any of the new money yet because we weren't sure if it was coming, or did we?
That's correct. We haven't included any community works fund in the 2024
Onward.
Budget and onward, because we were not sure how much, if the project would be renewed, the program, and if and how much would be received every year.
Okay. Did you want to add
To
something,
clarify,
Michelle?
you're asking if the 244,000 includes the 132 that we're about to receive under this agreement. Is that right?
It does, yeah.
Yes. Okay. All righty. There's the recommendation there. I think we want the money.
I'll move that the Corporation of the Village of Cumberland enter in the 2024-2034 Canada Community Building Fund Agreement, and that council authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer to execute the 2024-2034 Canada Community Building Fund Agreement between the Corporation of the Village of Cumberland and the Union of British Columbia Municipalities.
Seconder?
Second.
All in favor? And that's unanimous as well. Thank you very much. Consideration for further water restrictions. Rob's not here. Who's presenting? You want me to talk about water restrictions?
Yeah, we could
I
just-
love talking about water restrictions.
Just go ahead and restrict them.
Normally I
Shut her
talk
down.
too much. Now I'm not even talking. Sorry.
That's okay.
This is Rob's report, but he's out of he's not in the office, so I'm going to report for him. So what we're thinking of doing is because council there won't be any meetings in August, and that's our hottest month. We are preempting this, and we don't want to have to go to a restrictive stage at this point if we have enough water. If demand demand is less than it was last year at this time, and the long-term forecast doesn't warrant it. So we're just asking council to make a resolution to go to stage 2 or stage 3 if the recommendation of the Director of Engineering and Public Works bases it on those 3 criteria to determine we should.
Because
And-
normally we would need a council resolution to do that.
That's right.
Prior to, when do we normally do it? September or something?
Well, last year I think we did it in June or something, didn't we?
Yeah,
we went to
because- but
stage 3
council
in
did it.
July. Or
Yes, we've
That's
already
right.
done it by now.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And one thing I would say is council actually has the option to go to stage 2 at the moment. I would just not recommend it until probably August 9th because there is a lawn watering permit out there that could probably use that time up to that. Because those lawn watering permits do get cancelled during stage 2 and stage 3, regardless of what stage their lawn is in.
Okay.
So.
Any questions, council?
Just a comment. Thanks everyone out there for reining in your water use and
Nice.
having
Nice.
us below budget. So, but yeah, other than that, I'm happy to give this authorization and let them implement it when it's needed, if
Yeah.
we are on holidays.
Yes, and happy to encourage Rob to use the precautionary principle, and if it doesn't look good, let's just shut her down. We can always
Absolutely.
open it up again.
Absolutely.
So there's a recommendation there?
I'll move that council authorizes CAO to bring into effect stage 2 or stage 3 water restrictions at a future date only upon the recommendation of the Director of Engineering and Public Works based on water system demand, water supply availability, and long-term weather forecasts.
Second.
Thank you, and all in favor, and that is also carried unanimously. And now, we're on to strategic priorities, second quarter report.
And that's me. So the second quarterly reports are highlighted starting on 119 of your agenda. We managed to adopt the community nuisance and abatement bylaw, and council approved the bylaw enforcement policy, which is trauma-based. And we approved the climate action. We completed some statement of significance, like quite a bit actually. It was all getting worked on, not just in 3 months, but it really did come together in the last 3 months, all of that stuff. We also have some parking lot webcams out at the lake that I wanted to point out. That's pretty exciting. And I looked at it. It's really neat. It shows the whole boat launch and the parking lot. So we also have some other things going on, but also we have some things that are still outstanding, such as the Souther property decommission, but that's actually well underway and doing quite well. We have the Skills Park that is proving a little challenging because it has a boundary over the eco-gift lands, so some work has to be done. Just some different things. The JCLS project is $400,000, and that was approved by council for application back in January. So that's going to take some quite a bit of time to work towards. So those are just some of the non-strategic priority initiatives that I just wanted to point out are taking work plans. I also report on grants that are approved, not approved, and applied for as well each quarter. And then attached to my report are the financial services for the second quarter. That's all your financial reports and your variances. Protective services, all your stats on call-outs and membership. And your development and bylaw services, so all your planning and development applications. And normally bylaw services stats, and that'll come hopefully in the third quarter. And then your council resolution list, which is outstanding actions of direction that you've given to staff. And finally, not reported in here, but as a late item on the agenda is the RCMP. It's the June 30th reporting stats as well. And you'll be hearing from the new officer in charge soon, a little later in the evening. And I can answer as many questions as I can, or I can look behind me and ask staff to help.
Thank you very much. Questions, council?
Just curious about this other house there. Is the bridge over it now, and they're actively in there cleaning up? No.
Join you. No, work hasn't started. We're just finalizing the Water Act permits for installation of a temporary clear span bridge, and the ministry actually asked the village to apply for a second permit for the restoration of that bank. So there'll be no delays. There's no additional costs. It's just some additional process, and we weren't planning on starting the project until August anyway. So it's still on track, and I think we'll probably see equipment sometime in the second half of August into September.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Maybe while you're here, you can speak to the skills park. What can you just elaborate on what happened there?
Yeah, so Village Park is actually made up of several different parcels of land, of which, so including the Wellington Colliery Trail, the East Wellington Colliery Trail, it's theme tonight, and other smaller adjacent parcels, which were gifted to the village under the federal government's eco-gift program. So any change in use of those lands requires prior approval from them, or else we potentially could be subject to fines and tax penalties. And so given that half of that proposed development spans one of those property boundaries into eco-gift, we've chosen, well, let's be proactive with eco-gift and see whether there is a way that an approval for change in use, which it's really already how would I say? It's not high ecological value, those lands that are on the north and west side of the Wellington Colliery Trail. So it's likely we would end up doing some restoration work in areas that did have higher ecological value. But that's a process I've just got underway with the federal government.
Maybe some invasives control.
Yeah, I think there's lots of, my sense is there's likely a win-win to be had, but there's a process to go through. And I've been in touch with UROC, and they're aware of this process and the benefit of doing things right. So it's going to take a little bit longer, we think, but the ball's rolling on it.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot that that's because the whole trail is eco-gift land, right? Like the Colliery Trail is on eco-gift land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As is the BMX track. I think there's 6 or 7 parcels in the village, and they treat them all as one unit.
Yeah.
So anytime you're interacting with one of them, you have to be thinking about the big picture. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't want to run into those problems again.
Right? Any other questions? Okay, there's a recommendation there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kev.
I'll move the council receive the strategic priorities second quarter report, April, June 2024.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? And that's also carried unanimously. Thank you. 2025 permissive tax exemptions bylaw. Hello again.
So the purpose of this report is to introduce the 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw for consideration of first, second, and third reading. Council's prior policy states that council may only grant exemption for land surrounding land and buildings used as place of worship, subject to statutory exemption. Municipal properties occupied by a community group or partner agency where the group or agency has been granted a reduced or zero lease rate that may be subject to property tax, and the assessed improvement value of qualifying affordable rental housing properties. Similar to previous years, 3 properties are eligible for an exemption in 2025, sorry. BC Conference Property Development Council United Church of Canada, Cumberland Community Church, and Cumberland and District Historical Society. The 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw was prepared based on the above noted policy and must be adopted prior to October 31st, 2024 for the 2025 tax year. Per section 227 of the Community Charter, staff will provide public notice that council will be considering the bylaw for adoption. And once approved, the bylaw will be sent to BC Assessment to be included for 2025. Staff now recommends that council give first, second, and third reading of the 2025 permissive tax exemption bylaw. Any question?
Questions? Nope. There's a recommendation there.
I'll recommend that council give first, second, and third reading of the permissive tax exemption in 2025 bylaw number 1213/2024.
Second.
And all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Annie. No new business. I'm going to read the notices, motions, and announcements, and I will remind everyone to check the website prior to attending a meeting to ensure that it is actually happening at the time I'm going to tell you it's happening.
Okay.
Advisory Planning Commission is on August 8th at 4 p.m. right here in council chambers. Heritage Committee is on August 15th at 4 p.m. again here in council chambers. And Homelessness and Affordable Housing Committee is August 21st at 9 a.m. right here in council chambers. Questions? We have an audience member. Do you have any questions, Ken? Now is the time for questions.
Just one question.
Yeah,
I got it.
it's slidey.
Getting good practice. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just here tonight just to ask a question or clear up some confusion regarding the climate action plan, the climate program, the climate, forget what the third one is, but I'm wondering, one, are they all going to get integrated somewhere like in the official community plan? And would they address, in terms of emissions, residential backyard campfires? I know right now there's a fire ban, but when there isn't a fire ban, I think some residents can actually get a permit for their backyard campfire. And I'm just wondering if at any point that might be addressed through a reduction of emissions from the village. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. So the climate action plan is it on the website? It's on the website, and so whatever is in there now is what is in the climate action plan. I don't think there's anything regarding recreational fires there. So that would be, and that is a policy. Is that even a council policy?
The climate action
Recreational
plan was
fires?
approved by council.
Yeah, but I mean recreational fires, is that our
That's a permit through the fire
department?
bylaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be, if you wanted that to change, you would request that from council to make that change. And it would have to go through the fire department.
But not the Comox Valley Regional District? Because that's what's confusing, you know, to comment on the plan, you apparently go through the CVRD.
They host that, yeah, they host that engagement
And
site.
We had the engagement here in person, so that's why it's a bit
Yeah,
confusing.
yeah.
And then where you'll see the actual results collated.
Yeah. So the plan is on the website now. So it's it's available.
Sorry, it's accessible through the June 22nd council meeting.
sorry.
It's not yet on the web.
It's not by itself on the website, but I think probably if you search it or if you Google, I've been directed to Google Cumberland Climate Action Plan, you'll probably find it easier that way than searching on the website because it's in a council report. So I don't know how the search engine works, but
It will be gone. It
Yeah.
will get put on the website.
But eventually it'll be there, yes, as soon as we
Yeah,
get
I
to it.
often call just to clarify with the village office, so I'm sure they know me, so.
They are always willing to help. Thanks
Thank
for
you
your
very
question.
much.
No problem.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Anything online? No email questions. Mayor Brown. Alrighty, then I guess we need a motion to move back into closed.
Council close the meeting to the public pursuant to Section 90 of the Community Charter to consider labor relations or other employee relations, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality.
That was fast. Who's seconding?
matters.
And
And law enforcement matters.
Right.
for our late item, yeah.
Okay, right, late item. Law enforcement matter.
Now all in favor.
Thank you.
Second.
And that's unanimous as well.